dating apps for psychological reasons that have nothing to do with dating. So I think what started to happen is a lot of people have figured out that I can get some of my emotional needs met through dating apps, even if I'm not interested in dating. So out of the 10 women on there, possibly only 5 of them are actually interested in dating. And so then it sort of makes sense why, like, you know, for 10 women on there, like, your rejection rate is going to be way higher, because half the women that you look at profiles for may not even be interested in dating at all. The point is that this all reinforces these kinds of statistics, which we don't think about, right? So if you're a dude on a dating app today, all you're going to see is that rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection. And then you're going to watch all this, like, content on the internet, and we got to talk about that for a second. So why does all this red pill content, like, if you watch a single sort of red pill manosphere kind of video, you'll notice that all of these content algorithms will start serving it up to you like hand over fist. And why is that? It's because this content is emotionally engaging, right? So if I'm ashamed of myself and I think my life sucks, and anytime I try to go talk to someone about it, if they say, you're a loser, there's the patriarchy, go screw yourself, you have nothing to complain about, I'm going to get rejected from that. And then here's this pipeline of stuff that validates my experience. And that's what's really beautiful about, not beautiful, but kind of scary, is that what these algorithms have basically figured out is that in order to keep a user engaged, I have to emotionally engage them. This is why we love cat videos of them doing cute things. It's all about emotional engagement. And so what happens with some dudes is we have these experiences on dating apps. We watch one video that resonates with our experience, and the content algorithm figures it out. Here's a dude who feels bad about themselves. And so they start to prey on that shame by serving you more emotionally engaging content. And then the more emotionally engaging content you get, the more cognitive bias happens, right? Because now you're hearing from one dude after another dude after another dude after another dude, and even a lot of women, right? Because you'll see those kinds of things, and you'll see women say, yeah, I'd never date someone who gets below this amount and is this tall and whatever. And by the way, if you guys just want to know, like, statistically, right? So the number of men who make 6 figures or over 6 feet tall and have a 6-inch dick is like less than 1% of the population. And like, most of the people out there are not dating that person. The problem is that this cognitive bias reinforces your beliefs that you have to be in this top 1% to get any kind of affection. Then the problem is that if you believe this about yourself, you're ashamed of yourself, any romantic attempts you make are going to be sabotaged, not because you're not in the top 1%, but because you're ashamed of yourself to begin with, and you don't have any confidence, which is what a lot of what people find attractive. And so they end up shooting themselves in the foot. If you want to stop being a low-value man, and notice I'm not saying this is how you become a high-value man, because I think a low-value man is a combination of a pile of shame, invalidation from the environment, and a cognitive bias that is reinforced through predatory content algorithms. And it's not just the content algorithms that are preying on this shame. This is also what we see with sort of red pill manosphere kind of stuff, is what these algorithms will basically do is they'll bludgeon you into more and more and more shame. And at some point, the shame gets so high that you're willing to fork over money for someone to help you fix this problem, right? So this is why if you look at all the people who are selling stuff, they're going to really be leaning into, hey, you suck. Hey, life is hard. Hey, you suck. Hey, this is how to be great. And then they show all this fancy stuff with these sexy dudes and sexy women, and each time you watch that, you feel worse and worse and worse about yourself. And then someone comes along and says, give me that money, give me your credit card information, and I will fix it for you. So there's even this Darwinian effect from a business model around these kinds of things. I don't know that these people have really calculated it this far. I don't think that a lot of them have a fundamental understanding of psychology. But I think what they've sort of figured out is this is what works. The worse I can get someone to feel about themselves, and then if I sort of like give them an antidote, they'll take it. Another simple way to kind of think about this is if I can dehydrate someone, then the likelihood that they'll buy water is going to be way higher, which is why all this content actually induces shame. But generally speaking, what we're talking about is abandoning this psychological complex. And this is what I've seen not only as a psychiatrist, but when we work at HG with like tons of like incels and red pill kind of people, this is the path we walk with them that helps them get into healthy relationships. So the first thing that we've got to understand is that the reason you're a low-value male is because you think you're a low-value male. The shame that you carry around and the lack of confidence is ultimately the single most controllable thing that is sabotaging your efforts at relationships. The second thing that we've got to understand is that most of this red pill stuff succeeds at helping people build confidence, and that's like good in a way. I think the problem is that it carries a negative and toxic worldview that is like very dehumanizing for like half the population, and even for a lot of men. So I'm not sort of in favor of that. But a lot of that stuff that they sort of tell you to do, I think it's good to do. I think if you are not happy about the way that you look, you should exercise more. You should start eating healthy. You should get into therapy. You should update your wardrobe. You should do all of that stuff.